friends, welcome back to my channel. And in today's video, it could be a very long one or a very short one because we're going to be talking about all the series that I need to finish. So maybe 2 years ago, I did a video of all of the unread series that I have on my TBR. I did an updated list and I thought we could go through it because I have erased some books off my TBR that I was going to read previously just because like they don't really interest me anymore and I don't think that they're going to be worth my energy. So let's go through the series that I need to finish. So first up is the Song of Ice and Fire series by George R.R. Martin, the first book being the Game of Thrones. So I have read up to book 3, I think. So I have read up to A Storm of Swords, and I never finished. Part of me like is not finishing out of spite, as if George R.R. Martin cares whether I finish the series or not, because we have no end in sight for this series, but I want to catch up just for like the one day that he does decide to release the next book in the series. I would love to get there. So I enjoyed this when I read it, but I've taken a step back from fantasy in the last couple of years and I want to get back into it. I want to finish it. I really enjoy the story and I do want to make it through the TV show, and I know that it's different from the books, but I like still, my little reader heart won't let me watch the show without finishing the books. So I would like to finish this year. That's the plan. No pressure on myself, no pressure for the rest of these series either, but one day we want to get there. So next up is the Nevermore series by Jessica Townsend. I believe this is, I can't remember, I think it's called Nevermore. This is a middle grade series about a girl named Morgan Crow who is a cursed child, which means that she will die on her 12th birthday, and on her birthday she gets rescued by a guy named, can I remember what his name is? Jupiter? Yes, Jupiter, who takes her to this magical world where she goes to a school and she has like a little found family situation and she joins this like magical society. And I have read up to the books that are published, that are out, and I want to continue the series. So I really love it. I think it's a great magical middle grade series, super gripping, super fun, and I'm excited to read the 4th one when it comes out. So next up we have Anya and the Dragon. The series is called Anya. This is another middle grade series and I really enjoyed the first one. It's basically about a girl who befriends this boy and they discover a dragon. I haven't continued. I don't know if the second one is even out or it came out recently, but another middle grade series that I really enjoyed. I listened to the audiobook for the first one. I'll probably do that for the second one as well, just because they're fun audiobooks. So I definitely want to continue that one. So next up, I want to continue the Kiss Quotient series. I have read the Kiss Quotient and also the Bride Test, and I have not read the 3rd book. I can't remember what the 3rd book is called, but I really loved the Kiss Quotient. This was a 5-star romance for me, and I enjoyed the second one, and I'm hesitant about the 3rd one. I have heard that it's more women's fiction than romance and they do the hero kind of dirty, but I really love Helen Hoang's writing and I want to finish out the series. Next up, I want to read the Sorcery of Thorns series. I don't know if there is a 2nd book at this point, but this is a delightful YA fantasy series that I really enjoyed. It's basically, it starts out with a girl who works in a library with magical tomes in it and it unravels from there. There's a very cute romance. There is a delightful demon daddy in it, and I love Margaret Rogerson's writing. It's very whimsical and magical, and the fact that she can like write standalone fantasies, because I believe this was first supposed to be a standalone, is just mind-blowing that she can make them feel so fleshed out in such a short amount of pages. So next up, I would like to read the Wayward Children series. Now I have read the first one and I have heard it said that if you didn't like the first one, try the second one, because the second one is set in a magical world and like every other book is set in a magical world. Also, if my lighting changes, I really apologize. It looks like it's about to storm. So I'm losing all my sunshine, but they say that like every other book is set in a magical world, so people either really like the first ones or the second ones, like the alternates. So I do want to continue. Everybody loves these and they're so supposed to be really magical and emotional, and I want to know what the hype is about. Like, I didn't love the first one, but I want to read this Portal Fantasy. I want to know what it's all about, you know? So next up, I would like to finish the Last Hours trilogy. So the third one being Chain of Thorns? Is it Chain of Thorns, which comes out in March of this year, I think. This is the conclusion to the newest Shadowhunters trilogy, and this might be my favorite trilogy. Like, it's gonna be harder to beat the Infernal Devices, but I definitely feel like this one is a strong contender. I really, really enjoy it. It follows the events, it follows the children of the Infernal Devices families, and I really enjoy it. Like, the angst is great. It is like a magical, I just don't know how to explain it. If you are a Shadowhunter fan, then you probably have already heard about this. Or if you're just like a reader in general on the Bookternet, you've already heard of it. But I'm excited for the third one. Alright, we then have Camelot Rising. Now, the first one in this is the Guinevere Deception, I believe. Guinevere is a witch, or a mage, and she's like set to marry Arthur. That's all I remember. The first one was very mid, but I love King Arthur retellings, so I want to finish the series. I think it's just a duology. I want to finish it. I want to get my conclusion. I want to see this cute little relationship. And yeah, so that's all I have to say for that one. We then have the Winston Brothers series. I have read 2 or 3 books in the series at this point. And I like Penny Reid's writing. It's like a small town romance. All the guys have beards, like lumberjack men. And it's cute. They're good to listen to, and I want to finish the series. I then would like to finish the Four Horsemen series. I have read the first book in the series, Pestilence. I think at the time I gave it like a 4-star. Looking back, I don't remember much, but I want to finish it out. I've heard the series is like very hit or miss as far as like books. Like book 2 is okay, but book 3 is really good, and then I've heard the conclusion is good as well. So they're like the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse sort of situation. They come down to Earth to destroy it. They fall in love with women. We then have the Wraith Kings series by Grace Draven. The first book being Radiance. Loved, loved, loved Radiance, and then I tried to pick up the second book and I just couldn't do it because I don't really like reading books about couples, like established couples, but I'm expecting this one to be like more fantasy plot-esque, and now that I'm like back into reading fantasy, I want to know, like, is the plot good? Like, is the fantasy element good? I want to know the conclusion to like this war that's been brewing. So I'm gonna finish it. So next up, I would like to finish the Poppy War trilogy. I loved, loved, loved Poppy War. I have read this multiple times, and I went to go pick up the second book, and Ren's character at the time was just like really pissing me off. And I know that she gets like this huge redemption arc, and by the end of it, like, you love all of the characters and stuff, but she was just making me so angry that I had to set the book down. I felt like any character growth, we just lost it in the second book, but I'm determined to finish this trilogy because people love it. So I want to finish it. I want to cry my eyes out, because I love Ren and I love the characters in this series that I've read so far. So I want to finish this. This is basically like a magical series centered around war. I'm sure you've heard of it. And war and shamanism and gods and all that kind of stuff. So very dark. But I really like the first one. Next up, we have the Song Below Water series. I read the first book in this series, A Song Below Water, and it was a 5-star, one of my favorites of 2020. It's so, so good. And the second one came out, I believe, last year, 2023, and I just haven't picked it up. But this is like weird. Very, very weird. I don't know. The best way to describe it is it's like a story about sisterhood and using your voice, but it's odd because there's like magical creatures, there's like sirens and gorgons and stuff, but it's at the Bear. It's about, you know, finding your place, finding your identity, your sisterhood, like all of that kind of stuff. It's very good, but very weird. If you don't like weird stuff, you probably won't like it, but I would still suggest you give it a shot, and I want to read the second one because I love the first one so much. I'll probably get both audiobooks and then just read them back to back because I'm like craving a reread of the first one. So we then have the Destiny series by Beverly Jenkins. This is a Western historical romance, and I have read all but the last one in the trilogy. They're all like kind of connected. All of her westerns are connected, but this one is a pirate romance. I'm not like a huge Beverly Jenkins fan. I like listening to her audiobooks because her books are very cozy and they tend to be very low angst. But that's my problem. I don't really like low angst romances. Her stories are like at the 50% mark. The couple's together. There's no conflict within the couple. It's all external conflict for the rest of the book. Not really my jam, but I do want to finish out this series. I then want to finish the Last Magician series. I can't hold up the first book because I lent it to my mom, but I read the first book in this series and then for some reason promptly bought the other two, even though I have no inkling to finish the series, like no pull to finish the series. This is basically like a YA fantasy steampunk situation about a girl who is sent back in time to retrieve this necklace that's like supposed to save her people. She is a magician or a something to do with magic, and like this necklace is gonna like kill all of her people, and she's sent back in time to get it. And I liked the first one. I think I gave it 4 stars the first time I read it, but I would have to go back and read the first one to read the rest of the series, and it's just not there, you know, but I do want to finish it. So next up we have Rick Riordan series that I want to finish. I'm going to kind of talk about them in tandem because I don't 100% know plots. We have the Heroes of Olympus, the Kane Chronicles, and Magnus Chase. I have started the first book in each of these series and I've never continued, but I'm in the market for a good middle grade series, and I liked the Percy Jackson series when I was younger. Everybody loves these series, so I want to finish them and love them like everybody else. I then want to finish the Gilded Wolves. I believe I unhauled my copy of the first book, but I really enjoyed the first book. It's like a heist novel, found family with magic and stuff like that, and it's fun, and I want to like complete the series so that I just have like that satisfaction of it being done. I then would like to finish my reread of the Series of Unfortunate Events. I have read the books. I read the books when I was younger. I've watched the TV show like 50,000 times, but I started a reread last year, and I think I got to book like 3 or 4, and I want to finish it out. So I also want to catch up to the Amari and the Night Brothers series. I think it's called like Amari and the Supernatural Investigators or something like that, or the Supernatural, something like that. The first one being Amari and the Night Brothers. The second one came out last year, I think the end of last year, and I really want to read it. This is a fun magic school series that I really enjoyed. I would like to finish the Crescent City series. By that I just mean like reading them as the books come out because I am caught up. It's a urban fantasy, very mid, but something about Sarah J Maas's like writing is just very like consumable for me. By the same token, I do want to finish the ACOTAR series. I am not all the way caught up. I have read up until the novella, so I haven't read the newest book. Court of Silver Flames, and one day I'll get to it. I was rereading the series to read A Court of Silver Flames, and then I just kind of got bored of the reread, so I want to read A Court of Silver Flames at some point. It's not like the highest priority, but I imagine if I want to continue those 2 series that I will have to catch up to them because of the end of the newest Crescent City book. So I then would like to finish the Black Dagger Brotherhood series. This is like a very 90s to early 2000s series that has continued, and it is about vampires. It's a paranormal romance series. Incredibly popular. I have read 2 or 3 books in the series, and I want to continue. Because I just like these sort of like really long spanning series. I wasn't the biggest fan of the first one, but the last couple that I have read, I've enjoyed. I would like to finish the Mistress series by Anna Stone. I read the first book in this series. I buddy read this, and it was like it reminded me of like a sapphic 50 Shades, very dramatic, but I think all of the romances in the series are sapphic, and I think they all have audiobooks, so I would like to read them. We have the Fallen Kingdoms series. I read this, the first time I read this, I gave this 4 stars, but for the life of me, I cannot remember anything about it, but it is another very popular fantasy series that I do want to continue. I'm just struggling to call to mind what it was about, so sorry. I want to finish the Mistborn trilogy. I have read the first book in the series, and I want to finish it out, the first generation, and then move on to The Way of Kings. This is like a fantasy series with metal magic. I would like to finish the Hades series by Tate James. I have read the first book and I didn't enjoy it as much as the Madison Kate series, but I would like to finish it out. I think Tate James's writing, again, is just very consumable, very fun. They're like wide choose romances, and the heroine in this is the leader of a mafia, or of a gang of some sort, and she's like really badass. So I would like to finish the Broken Earth trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. I have read the first book, the 5th season, and I absolutely adored this. I gave this 5 stars. This is a fascinating fantasy series that kind of follows like a world that's constantly going through an apocalypse, and magic wielders that can kind of influence said apocalyptic happenings. This is very interesting. There is a really interesting point of view in this and some twists that were incredible, and I want to continue the series. I've heard amazing things, of course. So next up, their paranormal romance series that I want to finish. So we have the Dark Hunter series, the Psy Changeling series, and the Immortals After Dark series. Again, these are paranormal romance. I have started with varying levels of success books in each of these series, and I want to continue. I would like to finish the Green Creek series, the first one being Wolfsong. Really liked Wolfsong. It does feel overly long, but I believe all of these are MM romances, and they all follow a werewolf family, very found family, small town things, and it's pretty emotional, so I do want to continue that one. I would like to finish out the Twisted series. I have a very love-hate relationship with Anna Huang. I don't think she has like the most well-edited series. I think she's kind of all over the place with her stories, but they are fun and everybody loves them, and I want to enjoy her writing. So I think I had 2 books left in that series, so I want to finish that out. Next up, I would like to finish the Kingmakers series. I read all of the books in the beginning of the year in January, and this one came out in the middle of the year, I think. And I just never got to it. Next up, I want to finish the True North series. This is a small town romance series. I read the first 2 books in the series. I think there's like 7 books. I really enjoyed the first one. I liked the second one. They're pretty emotional, the first one, less so than the second one. And I really enjoy them. I think this like farm is interesting, and I really like the first 2 books, so I like this author's writing and I want to finish out the series. I don't know if I'll quite go 7 books, but I do want to continue and see how I feel. Next up, I want to finish the Mindfuck series. I have gotten 2 books into this, and again, I think this is like 7 books. I could be incorrect, but they're very short novellas, and they're about an FBI agent and a serial killer, and their romance, and I've heard it's like super fun, super thrillery, twisty, and I really like the first 2, and they're like fun little novellas that I could probably knock out in like a 24-hour period. I would like to finish the Boys of Claymont Bay, the first one being Touch of a Villain. I really enjoyed Touch of a Villain. I really like bully romances, and I'm hoping the rest in the series are also bully romances, but if they're not, it's okay. I really like this author's writing. I want to finish the Stay a Spell series. I read the first 2 books, and I want to catch up to its newest release. These are like urban fantasy, paranormal romance, and the first one is about a werewolf and a witch. Second one's about a witch and a vampire, and they're great. Like, I gave the first one 5 stars, gave the second one 4 stars. They're super fun. The audiobooks are fantastic, and I really enjoyed them. I would like to finish the Hoops series. This is a basketball series, one of Kennedy Ryan's. I've read the first one, DNF'd the second one, gave the first one 5 stars, and I want to finish out, I think it's just a trilogy, so I want to finish the last one. I want to finish the Small Town Romance series by Tasha Harrison. First one being Taste of Her Own Medicine, and I think this follows the sisters. Queens and Monsters, gave the first one 3 stars, second one 5 stars, one of my most surprising reads of the year. Mafia series, Vicious Lost Boys, which I'm forgetting. I'm struggling to remember. I think, what is the Vicious Lost Boys? Can you help me remember? I'll put the first book in this series up with like a little brief description because I can't remember. I would like to finish the Farseer trilogy by Robin Hobb. I read the first one and liked it okay, but I want to read Robin Hobb's books and I've heard this is where to start. So I would like to catch up on the Atlas series. Read the first one, really loved it, 5 stars, and the Atlas Paradox, the second one, just came out recently. This is like a dark academia fantasy. They're joining this elite group at the school and they have to compete in trials to earn their spot. I would like to finish the Marvelers series. I don't know if I'm all the way caught up. I don't know if there's been new releases. I think this is a fairly new series, but it is like another magical school situation, middle grade. I want to finish Them Boys. I read Set, liked it a lot. Quick short novella, very sweet, enjoyed the author's writing. I would like to finish the Addicted series. I have only read the first book and I really liked it. This is very different than kind of what I was anticipating it was. Okay, we're back. Things look different, I'm sorry. I was talking about the Addicted series. I started the first one and I want to read this one and the Calloway Sisters series. Next up, I would like to read the Bergman Brothers series. I read the first one this past year and I gave it like 3 stars, but I want to continue. I've heard great things about the books in this series, and this author really tries to write diversely in relation to people with disabilities, so I want to give it a shot. I'll probably listen to the audiobooks. I would then like to finish the Plated Prisoner series. I read the first one in like September, October, and I really enjoyed it. I'm always on the hunt for good fantasy romances, so I am very interested in continuing that one. This one was like no romance, but I've heard that the central romance that kicks in later is very good. Next up, I would like to finish the War of Lost Hearts series. I read the first one in this series again last year, right around the same time that I read the Plated Prisoner first book, and I liked this one. I thought that the plot was incredibly inventive and I enjoyed the slow burn romance, and because the plot was something that I had never really read before, I'm very interested in continuing. And then another fantasy romance that I'm interested in continuing along the same lines is the Shadow and Crowns series. This is about a woman who there's like a curse through her land and she has managed to survive the curse, and she is working with the king of this land to eradicate the curse, but she doesn't know if she can trust him or not, and she has a romance with the king's like right hand. So excited for that one as well. I would like to finish the Pageant series by Lilith Vincent. This is her new Why Choose series, and the first one is absolutely wild. I don't know how far into the series I will get because unfortunately Lilith has this whole like breeding kink thing going on within her series, and I'm not a breeding kink girl, so I don't know how it's going to go. I don't know if I'm going to continue it, but at the moment I plan on at least reading the second one, and hopefully it's not too bad. I've heard that like the breeding kink doesn't get bad until the last book, so we'll see how that one goes. The last series that I'm going to be focusing on this year is the Gentleman Bastards series. I read the first one, which was The Lies of Locke Lamora, and I loved it. It was 5 stars. It was fantastic. Locke Lamora is probably one of the most interesting fantasy characters I've ever read, and I'm super interested to see where the plot goes and expound on this world a little bit more. I loved the writing. It was very quick and witty, and I had the best time with it, so I'm very excited to finish out that series. So that is it for this video. Let me know down in the comments the series that you plan on prioritizing in 2023, or if you have read any of the series that I talked about. I would love to know. If you don't have anything to say, leave a book stack emoji of some sort in the comments. If you are looking for more content from me, you can check out my Instagram or my podcast Instagram. You can also check out my podcast on all your favorite streaming platforms. Do not forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys in my next one.